All right, so lesson 15. First question there. We had it all set up before you left. 6 over 1 times 5 over 2. You can multiply across and then reduce, or you can cross cancel now. Which one would you prefer? Brooks?
I'd cross cancel.
All right, fine. What'd you get?
I got 15.
Perfect. Technically, that is t equals 15. Eventually, you might have more than one variable, so you might want to put what the variable is. This one, again, we set up. We look at our variable here. On the side of the variable, it is a minus 8. The opposite of a minus 8 is a plus 8. So negative 4.5 plus 8. Signs are different. We should know what we need to do. Georgia. Not negative. Look which one's larger. The 8's larger, so it needs to be positive. 3.5. Again, looking at what's happening to the variable. What am I doing to the variable here? Adding a half. What's the opposite of adding a half? Opposite of adding is subtracting. So negative 3 minus a half. So you're $3 in a hole and you spend another half a dollar. Colin.
Negative 3.5.
Yeah, or 3.5 if you prefer a fraction. Signs are the same there, remember, so you add them together. Take the sign. Next one again. Right now I'm taking the variable times 3. The opposite of times 3 is divide by 3. What's 12 divided by 3? 4. Again, looking at what's happening to the variable here. Right now I'm taking y times negative 3. The opposite of times negative 3 is divide by negative 3. What is negative 12 divided by negative 3, Chesney? 4. Any questions on those 5? Okay, number 2, again, is very similar. We had to figure out what all the numbers were here based on what it tells us. First one is 2/5 plus negative 4. Signs are different, so that means I would subtract them. So I got to take 4 minus 2/5. What is 4 minus 2/5? Jessa. 3 3/5. 3.6 if you want a decimal. Negative or positive? Negative. Bigger sign is negative. Next one, 2 times x. So 2 times x is 2/5, it tells me. Minus z. So what is 2 times 2/5? 4/5. Minus a negative, that's going to turn into a plus 2/10. And again, kind of tough to see a fraction and a decimal, so you can make them the same if you wish. I made them both into a decimal. You can make them both into a fraction. You could make them both into a decimal. What is 4/5 as a common denominator of 10? 8/10, right? So what's 8 over 10 plus 2 over 10? That whole thing turns to 1. If you'd have done decimal, it would have been 0.8 plus 0.2. Would have got 1. Next one, adding them all together. 2/5 plus negative 4 plus negative 0.2. Want to do fractions or decimals? Who wants fractions? Who wants decimals? Looks like decimals barely went 1 out. 2/5 as a decimal. 2 divided by 5. 0.4. It's 4/10. 0.4 plus negative 4 plus negative 0.2. Let's combine the negatives. $4 in a hole and you spend another 20 cents. You're now how much in the hole? $4.20 in the hole. So you're $4.20 in the hole, but you made 40 cents. Big wow, big deposit there. Yeah. Yeah, and it's negative 3.8. Subtract the 2, take the sign of the bigger number. And the last one, multiplying y times x. So y is -4 times 2/5. Cross cancel anything there? No. So what's my answer going to be? Corbin? Top times top? Top times top? Bottom times bottom. -4 times 2? 5 times 1. You can leave it as that, or you could write -1 3/5, I guess, -1.6, however you want to write it. Has to be negative. Following those rules. All right, question 3. Over here, it looks like I'm taking x divided by 5. So what's the opposite of dividing by 5? Multiplying by 5. So that would be the top one. Next one. Now, they do have a negative here. It doesn't matter where the negative goes. They could also put it on the bottom here. So I'm just going to move it to the bottom, just because that makes it a little easier to see. So I'm taking x divided by -5. What's the opposite of dividing by -5? Multiplying by -5. That would go to number 2, and then there's only one left for D and 4 to connect. Number 4, give me an equation where my answer would be -8. Kind of gave you an example of an answer being 5. Anybody want to share their equation? Yes.
Y plus 8 equals 0. And then y equals -8.
Y would be -8. Perfect. That one works. Because -8 would be my answer. How about the next one? Anybody want to share that one? Kellen?
I'm not going this wrong, but x times -4/5 equals 8/5. Why, I didn't do it right, I should put 10th in there.
Yeah, so if I plug in -4 over 5 here, I will not get this. So it's looking for this answer to be -4/5. So that one doesn't work. Yep.
2 times 2 is 5 equals C.
Yeah, but it does say it needs to be multiplied by a variable, so it's got to look like this with a multiplication symbol. Yep.
Y times 1 equals -4/5.
Yeah, that wouldn't be wrong. Y would be -4/5. The one I have looks like this. -5 times x equals 4. Because the opposite of multiplying by -5 would be divide by -5, which would be -4/5. So either one is fine, as long as it answers this. That's all you need. Filling out the markings. Going straight across. Brooks, you want to tell me what you have here?
-2, -1.5, -0.5, 0.5, 1, 1.5.
Perfect. Okay, back. Last question, talking about the Challenger Deep. First question was asking, how many seconds does it take to get to the bottom? Okay, so you got to take the distance, which was 35,814, divided by, was it 4 feet a second? Does it come out perfect? No? So I'm going to say about, Jonas, what do you got?
8,952.5.
Oh, that's perfect. And that would be seconds. All right. So I don't need the squigglies then if it came out to a nice number. Okay, to end the mission, they made a 1-hour ascent to the surface, so it took an hour to come back up. How many seconds is an hour? Veronica?
3,600.
Correct. 3,600. And the final question. This ascent can be modeled by a different proportional relationship. Y equals kx. What's the value of k? So it did say value. Value should mean number. Some of us just wrote down what it meant, which is fine. But it did ask for the number. So it takes 35,814 feet in 3,600 seconds. So I want to figure out how fast I was coming up in that ascent. I knew how fast I went down. Now I want to know how fast I'm coming up. Did anybody happen to divide that? Corbin?
99.48.
Okay, that's right. Decimal's just in the wrong spot. 9.9. 9.9. It's about, doesn't come out perfect. Which we could see it was a little less than 10. Hopefully you saw that. You know, 3,600 times 10 would be 36,000, so just a little less than 10 feet a second. Questions on any of those? All right, warm-up should be unlocked for you today. It's a little text box. You got to write an equation and solve it.